Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm bringing you some recommendations. So you might have seen me and Liv over at Liv in Magical Bookland are hosting another round of Royal Readathon because we're not done yet. We've still got loads to go. And February 1st to February 28th is when it will be taking place. And the theme is animals. I will leave the announcement video that was posted onto Liv's channel. I'll leave that link in the description below, along with the Twitter page for our readathon. So, I thought I'd give you some recommendations. Every single one of these books that I'm going to recommend to you today has been read by me. I have enjoyed. I wouldn't recommend you books that I haven't enjoyed. So I've picked, I think there's 6 books for each prompt, apart from one prompt, which I will explain when I get to there. So if you're kind of thinking of your TBR and you're a little bit stuck on one, maybe some of these could help you decide. And since as it is one of the prompts, I have my Simba top on because Simba is one of the prompts. So I had to be on brand for this. So we're gonna get started. So the first prompt is Khan, which is read a book with a battle or a war. This can be literally any type of battle, any type of war, fantasy, non-fiction, anything you would like. So for my recommendations, I've also tried to do a bit of a mix of middle grade, YA and adult. One of the prompts, that's not possible. I'll explain when I get to it. So for the Calm prompt, Dragon Mountain by Katie and Kevin Sang would work perfectly for this. I've only read this first book in the series, but I imagine all of the books are gonna fit. Like all the books in this series are gonna fit this prompt. I absolutely loved this. There is a battle in this. I believe there is a battle in the second and third one as well. It's like an ongoing type battle / war, so this would definitely fit. And this is such a cute middle grade. I love the characters. The dragons in this are amazing. You will fall in love with them, and it's a really fun and quick read if you're trying to get some quicker reads in there. Next up, we have The Land of Raw by Jenny McLachlan. I always put this book on recommendations, and then I always remember how hard I find it to say the author's surname, and I don't know why. But this book is incredible. There is a battle in this. It's sort of like a fight between the main character and the bad guy. The third book is literally called The Battle for Raw. So you know there's going to be a battle in the third one, but there is kind of a battle in this one and in the second one as well. So again, any of the books in this series will work for this prompt. I'm just picking the first one because first in the series makes more sense for a recommendations video. Next up is a YA, and that is Set Fire to the Gods by Sarah Rash and Kristen Simmons. This book is amazing. There is literally, I mean, to be fair, there's quite a few fights in this because it's like a gladiator style book with elemental magic, but there's also a battle, and the series as a whole is going to have it's like a war. So it definitely fits to this. I haven't read the second book yet, but it's very obvious what's gonna happen. Like that is gonna be a plot point, so yes. Next up, we have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Every book in this series could count for this. I have read the entire series. I highly recommend it. But there is a battle. There is a whole like war in the last book. Like the whole series leads up to this big massive battle, and it is just incredibly written. But there are smaller battles and fights and stuff in every book of this series, so this definitely will count for this prompt. All of the books in the series will count, and I highly recommend it because it is an absolutely beautifully written, stunning, rip your heart out series, and I adore it so much. Next up, we have Fire with Fire by Destiny Soraya. This is one I don't get to see talked about, and it's a shame because this has dragons, this has like dragon hunters and everything, and sorcerers, and there is a massive battle at the end, so this 100% works. And it does talk about battles in the past as well between like dragon and dragon hunters, so this definitely fits. And then the final book for this prompt I'm going to recommend is Sabriel by Garth Nix, or any book in this series. So this is an ongoing battle between necromancers and the dead. the dead aren't staying dead, basically, and there is a massive battle between the living and the dead, and it's sort of an ongoing thing, and the whole series is just so good, and I highly recommend it. And I know Ro from Wandering Through Worlds would highly recommend this too, because she literally recommends it to everyone, and I can definitely see why. The next prompt is Thomas O'Malley, read a book where two people fall in love. Now this is the one where there's going to be no middle grade recommended, because doesn't really happen in middle grade. You don't get characters falling in love. So it's going to come to no surprise, the first book I'm recommending to you is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I'm going to continue throwing this book at everyone because it is incredible, and of everyone I've seen read it, I've only seen about 3 people give it less than 5 stars. So, and even those people gave it like 3 or 4 stars. So, you know, this is really good. This is literally has 2 people kissing on the front. That's Olive and Adam. And yes, Adam Carlson is basically based off of Kylo Ren's, like Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, which is the whole reason I picked this up, and I'm so glad I did. But yeah, this has 2 people that fall in love. This is perfect. Next we have Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This I kind of match, I just realised that. This one is a YA contemporary. It's got a bit of a I don't know if it counts as magical realism or sci-fi twist, but basically it's a Groundhog Day style thing where he meets this girl at this party, and then there's a constant, it's not the day repeating itself, but basically 6 months after he meets this girl, she dies, and then he wakes up on the night that they meet again, and it's a constant, he's trying to figure out a way to stop her from dying, and there's so many different scenarios, and it is amazing. I absolutely loved this story. It was such a good read and so interesting, and it was cute. So yeah. Next up we have Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is a queer contemporary, and it's just so cute. We have the son of the President of the United States, and we have one of the princes of England, and it's just so adorable. It is kind of enemies to lovers as well, which I'm here for, but yeah, I love it. This is not one for everyone, but it is very much up there on books I love. So you're going to see this again in a recommendation for a prompt later on, so yeah. Next we have Get Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This again, I mean, look how cute they are. Okay, so this is basically Chloe has like a near-death experience. She almost gets hit by a car, and she basically wants to change her life because she thinks she hasn't lived a life, and this guy helps her do it. I love it so much. It's again kind of enemies to lovers, and I am here for it. It's amazing. It is purely contemporary. There's no fantasy elements or anything. It is just contemporary, and it is just chef's kiss. Next up is another one that I would have, like, you would probably have been shocked if it wasn't on this list, and that's If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Cal Dietrich. This was my second favourite book of 2021. This is about a boy band, and 2 members of the boy band end up falling in love, and it's about them wanting to publicly come out and their management saying no, basically. One of the boys is already knows he is gay, but he's just not allowed to come out. The other one is just discovering that maybe he's not straight. So I love this book. It is really, it made me so angry at parts, but it was because I was angry at their management, and oh, it just made me feel so many things, and I loved it so much. And then we have another YA contemporary, which is Love on the Main Stage by S.A. Domingo. This is a really cute spring summery time feeling book, which is, you know, if you're hating winter a bit when we get to February, this could be the book for you. This is set at a series of music festivals where the main character's family has a restaurant, and they take a food truck to all these different festivals, and this is where she meets this guy. And stereotypical YA contemporary, it's amazing. I love it. Also, I apologise for the lighting. The sun keeps coming out and then going behind clouds, and it's really frustrating. So I apologise. Next up, we have Lucifer, read a book with a big bad. This is kind of easy to recommend for, but first up we have a middle grade, which is Rumble Star by Abby Elphinstone. This has Morag, is it Morag? Morg, not Morag, Morg, who is basically the big bad in this series, and she's just so creepy and I love it. And this whole series would work for this prompt, and I just love it to pieces. Then we have Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I have a feeling this one might be on Liv's recommendations as well. Maybe not for this prompt, but it'll be on there. This would actually also work for the Simba prompt. But yeah, this definitely has a big bad. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but it definitely has a big bad. And it's amazing. I very recently read this month, in fact. So yeah. Next we have Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This has basically this big bad company. So yeah, and they're basically fighting against this company to save people. Next we have Ascension by Victor Dixon. This is, you don't really know it's gonna have necessarily a big bad, but it does. It does, and I can't say anything else than that, but it does have a big bad, and you will hate them so much. They like made me so angry. Next up we have The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This whole series would work, to be honest. The big bad is very obvious who it is from the get-go, and it's just that, I mean, the book will rip your heart out, so be prepared for that. And then we have The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This one has basically, the big bad is essentially like the men who are trying to persecute the women who they think are witches. It's a witch hunt, basically, and there is very clearly a big bad. Next up we have Pluto, read a book with a pet or an animal. This is never going to be a recommendation I don't give for these sorts of prompts, and that's Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. Rykus is a squirrel cat, and he is not a pet, he is a business partner. But he's still an animal. So yeah, this one is such a funny series. Obviously the whole series would work for this, and I just love it. And if you're someone who listens to audiobooks, then I highly also recommend the audiobook for this series, because Joe Jameson is a legend. Next up we have Jinxed by Amy McCulloch. As you can see, there is a cat there. It's sort of like a robotic type cat, but it is still a cat. Still a cat. And this is just so good. It's a sci-fi type book, and I'm really excited to read the sequel to this, and yeah. Next up we have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This has Shadowcat. This has a Shadowcat. That's all I need to say about this. This is Assassins. This is amazing. It's one of my favourite series. Obviously all 3 books in this series would work for this prompt, because the Shadowcat is in all of them. And there is also other shadow animals as well in the later books. I think it's book 2 and 3 that the other shadow animals come into it. It might be in this book. It's been a while since I read this one. Maybe a reread. So yeah, this one would definitely work for pet or animal. Then we have Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This one is a bit of a twist on the prompt, because this one is a spirit wolf. So on the same vein as Nevernight being a shadow cat, a spirit wolf is still going to count. It is still an animal, so it counts for this. And it is a really fun, quick middle grade. And also, if you're taking part in Readathon, hosted by JD Ray Reads, this is a polar fantasy, so you could double up them. Next up, I'm not gonna hold up any particular book for this, but it's basically any book in the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare, because in a lot of them there is a cat called Church, who is like the cat of the Institute. It is actually Jem Carstairs' cat, and it follows wherever it wants to go. So it's in More Instruments, it is in Dark Artifices. It's in another one as well, but my brain is just blanked. I'm not sure if is it in the Infernal Devices? I think Church might be in Infernal Devices as well. I'm not sure. But then there is also Magnus Bane's cat, Chairman Meow. So there are definitely pet cats in these books. So if you're taking part in By the Angel Along, hosted by yours truly, then this would work for this prompt because City of Ashes is going to have church in it, and I think Chairman Meow is mentioned as well. And then the final book I'm going to recommend for this prompt is The Novice by Taran Matharu. So we have these little like demon type creatures, and it's basically his pet slash sidekick animal, and this is such a good trilogy. Obviously it will count for all the books in this series, and yeah, I really enjoyed this series. It was fun. The last book will rip your heart out, but it is still fun. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the prequel series or the prequel book will also have an animal in it as well. So next up is Raja, read a book set in a country that is not your own. So obviously for this I can't really recommend any books. It is very simply a book that isn't set in your own country. So obviously I live in the UK, so any book that is set outside of the UK, or if I want to be really stretching it, if a book was set in Scotland, I could read it because I live in England. So yeah, fantasy worlds will count for this because, you know, it's fantasy. If it's a sci-fi that's set in space or set in on a different planet, that will work. Literally anything that just isn't set in your country, basically. Next up is Max, read a book that is set at or beside the sea. So obviously this one could be a fantasy book that's set on the ocean. It could be just a book that's set at a seaside town or something. So I have a few recommendations for you. So first up we have Malamander by Thomas Taylor. All of the books in this series would count for this prompt because they are all set in the seaside town of Erie-on-Sea. Need I say more? These are amazing books. I love them so much, and they're middle grade, so they're quick and easy reads. Next up is Ship of Shadows by Maria Kuznia. This one is literally set on a ship. They sail the seas, and it is actually set in our world, but it's got a fantasy twist basically, but this is such a fun read. There's so much adventure in it, and I just love this book. Next up we have Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Abe. I absolutely love this book. This book is about a novice witch who's trying to actually become a novice witch, and she doesn't have a lot of magic, which is why she's known as the semi-magical witch, because she goes to this seaside town to complete her quest so that she can become a novice. And there we go, seaside town, and she has to basically try and fix things, but because she doesn't have a lot of magic, she finds semi-magical fixes for it, and it's just so clever and I love it so much. Next up we have You Let Me In by Lucy Clark. This is an adult thriller, so it's a bit different from everything else I've recommended, but basically this is set on a cliff top house, so there's literally looking out to sea. So it's not technically a seaside town, although I think she does drive to a seaside town at one point, but it's set on a cliff top house, so, and it is really good, like honestly so good. Next up we have Viper by Bex Hogan. I'll never not recommend this series. This is pirates, so obviously it is set on seas. That's all I can really say about it, other than it's got pirates. It's amazing, and all three books are set on the sea. My doorbell is going off. And then on the same vein as that we have Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. This is pirates. It's mostly set on the sea. Most of the book they are on the sea, but she is the daughter of the Pirate King, so pirates again. Next up we have Nana, read a book with familial relationships. So for this you could pick a book that has like sibling relationships and stuff, or you can pick found families. I have kind of done a mix. I've done a mix of both. It's mostly found family because that's my jam. So first up we have The House in the Surrounding Sea by TJ Klune. I am really happy I read this. It's so cute, and it has like a found family, so it is a bunch of orphans that are living in this orphanage, and they are essentially a family, and it's just so cute. I love it. Everyone describes it as middle grade but written for adults, and I really see that when I really saw that when I read it. I will say it's very character driven, so if you're a very plot driven person, you might not love this, but if you love character driven stories, then I have no doubt that you will enjoy this, because I did. Next we have A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. I don't know what I need to do to explain other than it's literally 3 sisters. This could actually also work for the Pluto prompt, because one of the sisters has a pet rat. And the rat's always getting into mischief. But yeah, this is literally 3 sisters who need to break a family curse. The other 2 books in the series, and the 4th one's actually coming out in February, all follow the same sisters. So any of the books could work for this prompt, because it follows the Widdowson sisters, and it's just so lovely and wholesome, and I love it. Next we have Frost Heart by Jamie Littler. This obviously has a found family. The crew of the Frost Heart are literally a family, and it is so adorable. I absolutely love it, and I love the relationships that he has with the different characters, and he finds his family after being an outcast, and it's so cute. Next is one you're probably again going to see on Livs, but it's Vampire Academy by Michelle Reed. Very recently read this, as in this month, but the 2 main characters are basically like sisters, so familial relationships, it works for this. Next we have Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This has a found family. It's also YA sci-fi, it's funny, rips your heart out, but it works for this. It's a found family. It's one of the more well-known found family books, so I feel like a lot of people would know that this would fit the prompt, but I'm still going to recommend it anyway because I really enjoyed it. And then the final book for this prompt that I'm going to recommend is The Iron Crown by L.L. McRae. This one is definitely a found family. There's a group of people that come together. There are some conflicts within the group, but to be fair, what family doesn't have conflicts? It's just such a good first book in a fantasy series, and I cannot wait for the second book in this series. It is a bit chunkier, so if you're trying to do shorter books for this readathon, this might not be the one for you, but if you don't read it for this readathon, I still highly recommend you check it out because it is so good. And then we're on to the final prompt, which is Simba, read a book with royalty. Simba. So, like I said, Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I said this one earlier, but this is literally, it has a prince and the whole prince's family. So it has royalty. Need I say more? Next we have American Royals. Royals is literally in the name, and I know that doesn't mean anything, but this is about what if America had a royal family. And it follows the 2 princesses and the prince on their life basically, and there's drama. It is literally a soap opera and I love it so much. Next we have The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. Wasn't gonna not recommend this. It's one of my favourite books. It's basically the main character wants power, so she decides to seduce the Shadow King. That's literally it. I love it so much. It is amazing, and it's quite a short standalone, so yeah. Next we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. This could be stretching it a little bit for royalty, but it basically has princes of hell in it, so it might not be your stereotypical like royalty, but it's still a prince, therefore it counts. And this is really good. I have yet to read the sequel, but I really loved the first book, so yeah. Then we have one that has no doubt whatsoever, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. We have Prince Carden. Need I say more? There's a whole Fae royalty in this, and it is just amazing, and I love this trilogy. And then finally, a middle grade for you, we have Rameza by Radia Hafiza. So this is a middle grade retelling, and it's a retelling of Rapunzel, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. And obviously Sleeping Beauty, or Sleeping Zara, is a princess, so it has royalty in it, and this is really good. Like, I highly recommend reading this. It's so beautifully written, it's so adorable. My favorite is Cinderella, like the middle one, like the middle story, because it's basically 3 short stories but they do link. Rameza is in all 3 of them, and yeah, I just absolutely love this book. It's so adorable. Okay, so that was all my recommendations. I now need to put all these books away, which is gonna be fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video might have helped you make a decision on a prompt or two. Let me know in the comments below if there's any books you would recommend for any of these prompts, maybe ones that you have read and you think fit this perfectly that I have not included. I would love to get some more recommendations, and it might help other people in the comments that might be stuck on an idea and maybe none of these take their fancy. So please leave in the comments any recommendations you have for books you've read. But I'm going to leave this video here. I believe Liv is also going to be doing one of these videos. There might be a few crossover books on this, I'm not sure. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I hope to see you in February and see your February TBRs if you're joining in on the Royal Readathon Animals edition. And I'll see you next time. Bye!